She had never thought of herself as someone special enough to be remembered. But one night, under a relentless downpour, she saved the life of a man the whole world admired. And then, like a gust of wind, she vanished, leaving behind only a clumsy scroll that read, "You're going to be okay." Sometimes the quietest acts of kindness write the most extraordinary stories. Can a small, trembling heart find the courage to step out of the shadows, to be seen, and to be loved? In a tiny 30-meter apartment on the outskirts of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, Chloe sat alone before her laptop. The dim light of an old brass desk lamp reflected off the rim of a cold cup of tea. The soft tapping of her keyboard blended with the clatter of the space heater sputtering in the corner. Outside, a fine mist of rain fell onto weathered red rooftops, soaking the cobblestone streets that glistened under the yellow streetlights. It was late autumn. Trees stood bare, skeletal limbs stretching against the lean sky. Chloe shifted closer to the desk and pulled a lamb's wool cardigan around her shoulders. She was only 26, but the slope of her shoulders carried more worries than her years should have allowed. She worked as a freelance programmer, taking small projects. From startups in New York and Boston, it was the perfect solitude for someone like her, quiet, hidden, safe. She could work, communicate only by email, and never face the weary glances she imagined from others. Her phone buzzed. Facebook notification. Her old university group. Planning a reunion in Philadelphia? Who's coming? The list of familiar names appeared, people who had once made her shrink into herself. She sighed, locked her screen, and pushed the phone aside. Her apartment was a world of silence, a worn armchair. Shelves crowded with Colleen Hoover and Nicholas Sparks, a shriveled cactus she had forgotten to water. No pets, no nearby family. Her parents still lived in Iowa. She had chosen this quiet life in Pennsylvania, far enough to disappear, quiet enough to stay invisible. The steady rain soothed her, yet restlessness stirred. Pulling on a hoodie, wrapping a scarf, and slipping into her waterproof boots, she stepped outside for groceries. Miller's, the local store, was still open. Inside, the bell chimed and Mr. Miller, with his baseball cap and white hair, greeted her. She filled her basket with ramen, apples, almond milk, chamomile, tea, simple things, just like her life. Back outside, instead of heading straight home, Chloe wandered to the town square. An old war monument stood at its center, wreaths sagging under the rain. Across the street, a mural of angel wings bore a message scrawled in white paint. Not all angels have wings. Chloe gave a sad smile. Not all angels flew. Some simply stood quietly in the rain, enduring. Shivering, she turned for home. Later that night, with tea warming her hands, she looked out through fogged glass and longed to live as boldly as others did, to dare to love, to fail, to believe again. But fear still froze her. Then fate shifted. Leaving Anderson's bookstore with a novel in hand, she stepped into the storm. The sky was ink, the streetlights bleeding faint halos through the downpour. A shriek cut through the night, the screech of tires, the crunch of metal. Chloe froze. A black SUV had skidded into a ditch, smoke curling from the hood. Sighed. Man slumped motionless, her heart pounded. 1,000 reasons to walk away flooded her mind. But one fiercer thought cut through. What if he needs help right now? Her trembling fingers dialed 911. The dispatcher's calm voice guided her. An ambulance is on its way. Can you safely approach him? Rain pelting, boots slipping in mud, she ran to the vehicle. The driver's side was jammed, but the passenger door yielded. Inside, the man lay unconscious, blood trickling from his temple. He's breathing, Chloe told the dispatcher, voice shaking. She set her bag down, leaned inside, and took his cold hand in hers. You're going to be okay, she whispered, though her own voice broke with fear. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, a faint twitch of his fingers answered her, when the ambulance's lights pierced the night. She knew she couldn't stay. Before leaving, she fumbled for paper, scribbled the only words she could summon, "You're going to be okay." She tucked the note into his hand and slipped into the shadows before the paramedics arrived. The man was Ethan Grayson, CEO of Grayson Tech. Semi-conscious, He clung to the memory of her hand and voice. At the hospital, a nurse handed him the paper note, now laminated for safekeeping. Ethan gripped it like a lifeline. "Who was she?" he asked. "No one knows," the nurse said softly. By the time we got there, she was gone. Days later, discharged from the hospital, Ethan couldn't shake the memory. Launched a podcast not about tech, but about her. With raw honesty, he told the story of the hand that held his, the whisper that kept him alive. "If you're hearing this," he said into the mic, "thank you. I hope someday we meet." Within hours, the episode went viral. Hashtag Find the Angela of Gettysburg trended nationwide. News outlets and strangers alike longed to know who was she. In her small apartment, Chloe froze as headlines filled her screen. CEO Ethan Grayson, searching for a rainstorm angel. Her chest ached with both warmth and fear. Part of her wanted to scream, "It was me." Another part whispered, Don't let them see you. Don't let them be disappointed." She wasn't a hero. She was just Chloe Bennett, shy programmer, invisible girl. But Ethan wasn't giving up. 2 weeks later, he announced a hiring event in Gettysburg. A strange move for a tech giant, but to him, it was the only place that mattered. That morning, Chloe found herself standing outside the library where the event was held. She had told herself she was only there to look, just once. Her knees shook as she pushed through the doors. She tried to blend into the crowd, but when Ethan's gaze swept the room, it found her instantly. One look, and he knew. It was her, the girl in the rain, the whisper in the dark. Slowly he approached, crouched before her chair, and met her trembling eyes. He said nothing grand, nothing overwhelming. Only this: "If you don't want to be a hero, at least be my colleague. If you don't want to be a hero, at least be part of my world." Tears slid down her cheeks as she reached out for his card. For the first time, she felt seen. Not because she was perfect, not because she was anyone's hero, but because just as she was enough. Weeks later, Chloe walked out of the Grayson Tech building in Midtown Manhattan, an employee badge around her neck. Sunlight glinted off skyscrapers above, and for the first time she smiled bright. Fearless, alive. She had stepped out of the shadows. She was going to be okay.